Welcome to Studying to Reduce Test Anxiety, a College Readiness and Student Success Workshop module. Test anxiety is something we all feel. Most of us have been in that situation of sweating through a tough exam or quiz with a deafening tick of the clock next to us, reminding us how little time we have left. This is when we start to get all sorts of nervous thoughts that are even more of a distraction. I'll never finish in time, I can't remember that formula, this test is a huge part of my grade, everyone else has finished already. I knew it before, but now I'm blanking. And of course, there are many, many more. Finally, the test ends and we know we didn't do very well. If only I didn't get so nervous, I could have shown all that I really know, we think to ourselves. Studying is key to reducing anxiety going into an important test, quiz, or exam. This is because studying will give you the confidence in yourself and your knowledge necessary to do well in such a high-stakes environment. But just any amount of studying won't do. Different amounts will get you to different levels of understanding of course content, and thus to different levels of confidence. With some review, you will be familiar with the basic, broad ideas of the course material. With more review, you will have knowledge of the most important ideas as well as some supporting information. And with consistent, effective studying, you will reach mastery of the material. Mastery means you have memorized and integrated major concepts and all of their supporting ideas and properties. It is mastery that creates confidence for tests and exams. How do you know if you've mastered material? Test yourself without advanced preparation. By this, I mean test yourself without studying a lot just before. Say you're in a math class working on graphing. If you can do a set of practice problems well after taking an hour to look over your notes and read your textbook, that's a good start. That means you are familiar with or even knowledgeable about the material. But if you can, say, walk in the door on a weekend after running some errands and immediately do a set of challenging, varied practice graphing problems and get almost all of them correct, then you've likely mastered the material. Mastery means your brain doesn't need a lot of practice and time to warm up before you can start recalling key information or solving certain types of problems. This is important because you might not always have a lot of time to study just before walking into a room to take a test. This is also important because sometimes tests will require you to quickly switch gears from one type of material to another. If you can walk in from doing some errands or some other unrelated activity and quickly do well on a mini test of practice problems, you will be confident knowing you can speedily shift gears from one type of content to another on a test. In this way, testing yourself is actually a way to boost confidence and reduce test anxiety. To master material for any class, you need effective study strategies. Study actively. Use strategies that force you to actively process material from class. An example of passive studying would be reading your psychology textbook. Active studying would be reading your textbook while taking notes, and then going back over your notes and highlighting key terms or even making flashcards for them. Another example of passive studying would be glancing over your notes from math class. Active studying for math would be reworking problems from your notes and then using your notes to check your answers. View the Active Studying Workshop module for more information. Study frequently. If you only study something on occasion, it will be more difficult to get to mastery, and you might never get there. After learning new information in class, try to review notes or even the textbook immediately after class, and then again that night. Then review the material every 2 or 3 days, or more frequently, so that you can keep the information fresh. Finally, test yourself. As I mentioned before, testing yourself with practice questions and problems will help you determine whether or not you've mastered certain material. But testing yourself is also a key way to learn material better. When you get something wrong or don't know a piece of information for a practice test that you've made for yourself, you'll better identify what you still haven't mastered, which can help you guide your studying efforts. This is why testing yourself can actually help you learn. Mastery of the material and concepts achieved through effective studying is the best source of confidence on any test. But sometimes there are sources of anxiety that have more to do with the testing environment. For some people, the limited time they have to finish makes them anxious. For others, it's a lack of potential for help in the testing room. These people are calmer in a non-test setting, knowing that they could look at their notes, textbook, handouts, etc., even if they actually don't need to. When it comes to a test and all those sources of help aren't allowed, these people become anxious. Simulating these real test conditions when doing practice tests will help you keep calm during the actual quiz or exam. If time makes you anxious, Get out a stopwatch and give yourself a limited amount of time to do a set of practice problems. If knowing you can't look at any notes or books during a test makes you nervous, try doing a practice test on a desk away from where you normally do work, and without any notes, books, handouts, or other materials on it. That way your desk will look just as it will during the real test. Simulating test conditions will make you more comfortable with them, allowing you to concentrate better during the real thing. To be clear, some people suffer from severe test anxiety that these suggestions cannot help. If prior to a test you experience headache, nausea, diarrhea, excessive sweating, shortness of breath, lightheadedness, or feel faint, please consider speaking with a counselor at Lakeland. They can give you further advice on how to manage anxiety. In summary, here are some key takeaways. Mastering course material is actually the best way to reduce anxiety, better than any secret test-taking strategy. Use effective study habits to achieve mastery of course material. If you don't study effectively, it will take you more time to reach mastery. And if test conditions like time or lack of notes make you nervous, simulate these conditions beforehand so that they don't scare you during the actual test. You can find more help for being a successful student in this list of campus resources available at Lakeland. This video was produced by the Office of College Readiness and Student Success at Lakeland Community College.